Okay. So we're live, and this is recording. All right.
Your sketchbook is on.
All right. So, hello, if you're out there. Welcome to the pilot episode of a new figure drawing podcast called Life Studied. I'm here with my friend Mairin-taj Caya, who is also an artist, but is also a professional art model. How are you?
Hi, good.
So this episode is probably going to be terrible in terms of like production quality and sound and all that stuff, but it's more of an experiment.
Yeah.
So the idea is that we'll be talking drawing, just like the ins and outs of why we do it and how we do it, and sort of hopefully also do some drawing during the show. We filmed a couple of sort of practice episodes where the format will be like, Mairin-taj and I talking at first and then switching over to drawing, but for this thing it's just going to be drawing, and we'll see what happens. And I will ask Mairin-taj questions. In the future, we're even talking about maybe people can submit questions.
Yeah, I like that.
Or if we do these live, people can, like during a live stream, drop in and give us questions. So we'll open up the floor at some point eventually. It won't just be us like talking at you.
Yeah.
But I should also take care of some actual business. So we're here at the Pennsylvania College of Art and Design in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, who have agreed to sponsor the show. So thank you for that. If you're not familiar with the school, you should check them out online or come for a tour. I work here teaching anatomy and some figure drawing, mostly for the illustration department, but they have a bunch of majors. And it's a great little school and a great little city, so check it out. Mairin-taj, how are you today?
Okay.
Good. So the gist of this is that with any figure drawing session, you have a live model. If you're lucky, you can get access to one. We've talked about all the different ways you can do that. You can come to places like PCAD and take a formal class, or you can do what we call open figure drawing sessions, which just means it's a studio that's open. You pay a couple bucks and you can draw from the model. And then we tend to start with very quick gestures to warm up, and then move to longer poses depending on the amount of time allotted. It can be anywhere from like 30-second gestures to like, a half an hour pose. We're probably not going to do anything that long here. We'll just start with some warm-ups and then maybe do a couple of, 5-10 minute poses if you're cool with that.
Yeah.
And we'll get started, I guess.
Cool. Do you want to start with 30 seconds?
30. Let's start with a minute, just because I'm probably gonna be nervous about doing it live here on YouTube and the interweb. Sorry to make you run the clock and pose.
No, it's okay. I've done it occasionally. So.
Okay. All right. So with gestures, I'm not looking for accuracy necessarily, or even a really fleshed out figure, no pun intended. I'm just trying to get the sort of basic gist of the pose. Mairin-taj and I worked together during the anatomy class and the figure drawing class here at PCAD, and Mairin-taj is a big proponent for like just fast and uncomfortable. So the shorter the pose, the less time you have to like noodle with it and get fussy. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is a physical task that we have to you know get a little loose for. I just realized I still have my KT tape on my arm because
Just realized that?
I've had it for a day now. Like
Yeah.
so, I have been overdoing it with work, and my arm is in bad shape from too much mileage. Uh, and I meant to take it off before filming, and I just realized it's still on. But to your point, like the warming up, it matters, right? Like
Yeah.
so.
So there's physical warming up, your arm, your shoulder, etc. But what about the other kinds of?
True. I mean, I tend to sort of focus on just the mental side, and I'm glad you mentioned the physical side because the mental side for me is where I feel the most rusty. Like
Yeah.
you jump into a drawing and you're like, whoa, this is terrible. Like, and I think that's where you sort of need to loosen up more than even physical. Because I mean, I could sit here and just like, it's not like I'm playing basketball or something, right? Like I don't have to. I'm not lifting weights. I don't have to be that warmed up. But like, man, you can tell when you're not mentally in it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It takes some repetitions to find yourself in it.
Yeah. So do you have a routine? Like if you're gonna jump into drawing, whether it's with a figure or in the studio or whatever, do you have a kind of warm up routine?
I have a few different ones depending on what I'm warming up to, but generally for me the prep work is in situating myself in my space and getting it like surrounding myself with whatever I need for the task at hand and then getting the right ambiance, like whether it's music or podcast or
Yeah.
silence. For me that's really where it is because if I'm distracted then I cannot benefit from or benefit the drawing process.
So it really is just the environment for you then,
Yeah.
more than just okay, that's
More than
cool.
just the drawing itself, yeah. I mean, of course, you know, I'm gonna be a little rusty if I haven't been doing it and I need to like warm up
Right,
really physically.
right.
But for me, it's really just getting myself in the mindset of what I'm doing.
Yeah. You ever read this book, The War of Art?
No, but I want to.
So-
It's been on my list.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's a little self-helpy and kind of hokey, but it's a good. It's of the self-help books for artists. This is a good one, and he has this bit about getting his space ready. So first of all, he talks about the sort of the process of just going to his writing, I don't know, studio, where it's not in his house, so he has to actually trudge out of his house to go to the place, which I think, you know, some people might hear that and think that sucks. I would just want to stay home and draw, right? But I can see the benefit of like leaving your home, you know, sort of the mental like switch over from I'm going to work now.
Yeah.
But he talks about having this little cannon that I forget if someone gifted to him or he just picked it up in Cuba or something. It's a little like replica of a Spanish cannon, and he points it at his typewriter for good luck. This whole idea of like, and he has, you know, and he describes this like little setup of getting his space ready to write.
Right.
And it's something I don't do,
That's cool.
but I'm always intrigued by the idea of like, okay, let me get my space ready and then I can draw.
Yeah, that's a big part of it for me. And there's all these little things that I do, but one of the things actually getting myself mentally ready is to put on, you know, work clothes. You know, like it's not an office outfit, but it's like
Yeah.
I'm going to work, I'm going to get ready for work.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I know we've talked about when I'm teaching, I tend to wear like a dress shirt and tie because I'm less likely to act like an idiot in class. And I think that's just from the Pavlov's dog thing with having gone to Catholic school. You end up behaving better when you have your tie on, kind of thing.
Sure.
So that makes perfect sense. So what's your work clothes consist of, if you don't mind me asking?
I guess, you know, my style is artsy athleisure.
Athletic leisure, is that the combination? Is that the word you just made up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess just like I'm
button-down men's shirt and like a comfortable skirt or something. Again, it's not like a typical 9-to-5 work clothes, but it's just I'm wearing my outfit for the day. I've gotten myself all ready to go. I'm not doing. It's basically me choosing not to do the whole
wearing yoga pants and being a mess.
Although I got to tell you, like athletic leisure, or I don't know. I feel like an art version of that. I don't know.
That's definitely an artist version of that. You know,
Yeah.
artist clothes. I don't know how to explain.
No, I know. Yeah, it's like a mix of like bummy and comfortable kind of work clothes. It used to be an outfit. I remember. I forget who the artist was. There's a famous guy who may or may not have killed his wife. God, what's the guy's name? He was married to a Cuban artist, and he may have we just got really dark. I'm sorry,
That's okay.
but
It's fun.
he may have tossed her out of his window, and he claims she jumped. But he came from like a well-to-do family, and he was a sculptor, and he had I remember thinking it always looked like he was cosplaying as a workman, like he would wear overalls,
Yeah.
the whole
right.
kind of look, and it was a thing in art school you would kind of see a little bit of, it's practical and it makes sense, especially if you're in a sculpture or painting studio, but you also wonder how much of that is just like, not that you do this, but with these dudes that were like, yeah, I want to look like a guy who works.
An artist.
Yeah, even though.
I think that there's something to that all throughout the ages. There's artists always wear like men or women like the loose shirt, like the roll-up sleeves,
Right.
kind of open collar, very
Yeah.
relaxed, but it's also kind of functional.
Right,
I don't
right.
know. I definitely do that.
And then you had guys like John Singer Sargent who supposedly would wear the full suit, while he was painting.
Yeah, I don't do that, but
I think some of that stuff is myth building too. Like,
sure. You want to do 2 minutes?
yeah, let's move up. I think we're good.
Or like, then there's the more romanticized extremists who are like out of nerd who are wearing like a full fashion smock, with nothing else on underneath.
Oh God, really?
Yeah, like the old fashioned like 1700s like tunic smock nightgown thing.
Yuck. Sorry, I shouldn't say that online.
I've seen a lot of artists who do that. They're more like live in the old day look, or like Gustav Klimt.
Yeah.
Wearing that kind of.
I can't remember who the guy was, but there was a guy that was an artist that was pushing the idea of like, he didn't want to exist in a world that was past. I forget if it was the like 18th or 17th century or something, and he down to where like he had a chamber pot and the whole shebang, and
Oh wow.
he says, "Oh, it makes me more productive in the day because I don't have to get up and go to the bathroom and pee. I can just do it in my room and then get back to sleep." And I'm like, dude, you're not being that productive. You can go to the bathroom and pee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a thought too, just in your art practice, what things need to be more efficient and cut out of your life to make you more
Yes.
effective, and what things are kind of unnecessary or superfluous.
That I will do personally. I think So if you're out there and you don't know who I am, I'm a comic artist, and I'm pretty hacky, and I have to perform even when I don't want to.
20 seconds.
Yeah. And whoops. So I've given a lot of thought to like what I have to do throughout the day to be productive.
Right.
And sleep's a big one. I mean, when I was in art school, I could pound half gallons of iced tea all night and just paint and be fine. Nowadays, I have to be kind of militant about sleeping, and because it's more about the consistency of needing to produce something every day, which is why I'm going to bring it back to War of Art. That's what I liked about his approach, is that his is more of like actual practical everyday practice,
Yeah, right. I like that. That sounds good.
Yeah, he's also like an ex-Marine, so he's
Oh.
he pushes this idea that like Marines are more productive because they know how to suffer and be miserable and still, you know, keep marching kind of thing.
I love that. I'm really into that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not into suffering, but
I mean, you like we've known each other long enough that
Yeah.
you like when things are difficult, right?
Yeah.
Like I've noticed you with students even, you know, there's a certain glee to the 30-second poses when you see them all sweating and you're kind of sitting there giggling.
it's true. I mean, part of my philosophy, just as an artist and a creative person, but also because of comedian in my life, like being creative, being an artist, learning anything in life, having a growth mindset, it requires getting comfortable with uncomfortable things.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be able to be uncomfortable and to keep going.
Amen. Like I am uncomfortable right now with all these cameras and lights. Like you guys can't see this on the camera, but I have like a 1 square foot space to work in, so I'm not moving a whole lot. But I think you're right. I think it's when you hear these AI type guys, like AI or programmer guys, you know, I'll see these conversations where they are sort of besides themselves when someone's saying, hey, you know, you could just draw. And they're saying stuff like, you know, you mean to tell me like someone just wants to see an image and they just train their whole life till they're able to create that image. And it's, the idea is so crazy to them.
Yeah.
But it's genuinely what we're kind of doing, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a way of like explaining that to someone with that mindset.
Yeah, yeah.
If you hadn't noticed, I'm also a big believer in giving up where there's no point. And that includes people who don't.
I'm giving up on that pencil because I lost the point again.
Oh no.
Sorry. But yeah, it's I mean and it's frustrating as hell, right? Like you're getting frustrated with things that it's hard to sort of put into words for people. Like you know, this painting's driving me nuts, and then people look at you like, okay, well, why? And you're like, I can't get this arm right, and they're kind of like, what? Like, why? Just draw the arm. Or you know, you watch students struggling with foreshortening, and that's just part of the process, being miserable with something until you kind of get it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's important. And we are more and more tech dependent, learning to be cozy and cuddled by our, you know, tech loving world. That's all our special comforts and doesn't force us to grow.
Yeah, we're starting to sound like a couple of Luddites with a podcast.
Yeah, I
It's
do
probably-
sound like a Luddite quite a lot, actually. So gotta work on it.
As we use a live stream on our phones and a camera and everything else going on at once. Yeah, no, I think there's something to be said for that discomfort where growth sort of resides.
Yeah, that is what, I mean, I think that's what art is all about.
Yeah. That and avoiding getting a real job, if you're lucky. Somehow the 2-minute poses look exactly like the 1-minute poses. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Do you want to go back one? Do you want to do
No, 2. Yeah, no, let's stick with 2.
You want to do 5?
How are you feeling?
I'm good. Whichever you want.
Yeah, we'll jump to a little longer. How long have we been at this here?
It is 2:05.
So we've been about 20 minutes already. Wow. Okay.
So 5 minutes.
Yeah, we'll try that and see how you feel, see how I feel, see how it looks. Because I'm sure people are watching this going like, this dude can't even draw. Why am I 20 minutes into a podcast with a guy that can't draw?
Well, and we've talked about that too before in other situations, you know, how it's good to show up-and-coming artists, practicing artists, anyone really, that no matter how accomplished you are, skilled you are, practiced you are, you know, your warm-ups, your beginning, your early stages of anything, it's not gonna look like
Yeah.
pretty. It's not
Yeah.
gonna be
Yeah, for sure.
perfect.
Yeah, and I think there is a little bit of an idea that like, you know, because we going back to technology, unfortunately, we see everybody's finished pieces,
Yeah.
and sometimes I'll see young artists sort of beat themselves up because they're comparing their
Process
right.
to the product.
Exactly. That's perfect. Perfectly said. So, so it's nice to share the sort of unfinished stuff because most people just see my finished, whatever comic work usually, and it's important to like. I think it's important to share the process stuff so that they can see, you know, where it's going wrong, where it's going right.
Yeah, just see that it's a real practice.
Yeah.
It includes your frustration if you're in a sweat situation.
I think I mentioned to you before, I had a buddy in the painting department who said, you know, like we all thought he was a genius and he was always doing amazing work. And I was talking to him one time and he's like, dude, I ruin 3 paintings for every one I get right, you know? And that was good. I mean, I wasn't good to hear in terms of like that he was frustrated, but it was good to know that even geniuses are fighting. And it's not just us, you know?
Yeah, right. It all requires the fight, regardless of who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I like too that says, you know, for the success that you see, I have a lot of failure.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's okay. Yeah.
Amen. Yeah, for sure. I mean, this guy was incredible, and we were all sort of taken with just what he was able to do. And it was easy to forget that, like, you know, he was spending a lot of time in the studio screwing up as far as he was concerned. So yeah. So I read something recently, I can't remember who the hell said it, and it's been buzzing around in my head ever since I read it. This guy, the quote was, we don't draw what we see, we draw what we want the viewer to see. And I've been thinking about that a lot, just because most of my figure drawings always look unfinished. And I think part of that I've always assumed is just because I'm impatient, and I kind of want to get the studying in. I don't have a lot of interest in like these drawings where people spend, you know, weeks just noodling and shading forever, and it looks incredible. It always, like, you know, it's impressive to folks who are sort of new to art, and when you tell them, well, you know, I could teach you how to do that in an afternoon with like a projector and a couple of pencils, because most times those hyper realistic drawings are also not like, they're not going through this process. They're usually just tracing the thing and then shading, you know, a very advanced version of coloring in, kind of. And I want to be careful. I don't want it to sound like I'm knocking anybody. I just don't have interest in that kind of work.
Yeah, right.
And I think sometimes about like, what is it that artist is trying to show us? And I think a lot of times it's, hey, look how good at drawing I am. Like, almost that's the message. And I think I find myself sharing the process stuff to like, I think there's a part of me that like, as an artist has a hard time taking myself seriously. And I think that's coming out in the art without me having planned it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I really did that. That's a great quote, though. I really resonate.
Yeah, yeah, and I know I'm sort of talking about it in terms of the intention, not the actual physical. Like I want you to look at this thing, and I'm sure that's what the quote intended to mean. Like I want you to look at these particular shapes or whatever, and the narrative I think is behind it or whatever. But I'm sort of tying it into the intention of like the act of drawing itself, which is I think what we end up talking about with the show the most, like the actual act of drawing and why we do it, and that to me is like, I don't know, drawing is living in a lot of ways for me. So I think I'm more interested in the act of it than the like finished product a lot of times.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
You okay? I'm trying to avoid talking to you because you have like essentially your knees all the way into your chest.
Oh, I'm good.
Okay, you are?
My belly's like between my legs, so I
Okay, gotcha.
can breathe into my abdomen.
Your voice sounds a little strained, so I was like, oh boy.
That's my neck and my head being turned
Are you okay?
the way it is. Yeah, no. I'm good.
Okay.
The strange intricacies of the model.
I mean, it's a rough gig. Like, it doesn't seem like it. If, okay, I'll just stand still. But yeah, you try standing still, or sitting, or whatever, just without moving for a couple of minutes, and see how easy it is. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've done that experiment with people. I'll be like, okay, well, hold this pose for 5 minutes.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, I got it.
No, they totally can't. They're full of crap.
And then in the pose, like I'll do it if I'm drawing a friend or something.
Yeah.
Just because it's not about me drawing them, it's about me seeing how they can handle it. And like a couple minutes in, they're like, oh, I can't move my foot a little
No.
bit. I can't move my hand. I can't shake my head. I can't scratch it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
We
yeah.
move more than we think we do.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's even if you've done portraits of people, like
Yeah.
it's nuts how often you have to like account for it. We used to say chasing the figure, right? When they won't stay still, so you keep having to alter your drawing to try to at least get something out of it.
Right.
So yeah. All right, can I ask you what time it is?
It is 2:16 something.
Okay. We may have lost the camera. Okay, that's fine.
Did it die?
Something happened, so I'm just gonna close it. That's okay. That's enough footage if we still have the live thing. Hopefully everybody's there. All right, so let's do, somehow I'm still doing drawings that look like they're not, the time's not expanding, so that's on me. But we'll do another, you
Also,
okay?
you're talking, which is very distracting.
Yeah,
From
yeah,
the drawing process of me.
for sure.
So it's hard to do that. It's a performance on your own.
Yeah, in some ways, and I'm not a fan, but it's the modern world, and yeah, it's part of the gig now.
You want to do another 5?
If you're up for it, yeah.
Shall I do foreshortening? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. The one nice thing is I can lose this camera now. Oh, shoot, I think maybe I can't. Maybe I can't. Whoops. It's a live show. You'll deal. You guys are okay out there. It's free. Oh, man. Okay. I think I made the situation worse, but it's
This is
okay.
what home game looks like.
All right. Yes, I am not a professional podcaster yet. Give it time. All right, let's draw.
That's right. That's the attitude. Practice makes progress.
Yes.
Drawing or anything else.
This is true. So, you have any summer art projects you're working on?
No. I am fine. I've got my sketchbook Saturday that I'm continuing, and I've got my Patreon that I'm changing and working on continuously, and then that's the focus for this year.
And you've been making these little sketch collections or drawing collections of your mermaid art that you have on Gumroad. Is that still?
I'm adding to that saga slowly, yes. Yeah, I had a lot. I had 2 shows, what was it, a year ago now, and I kind of, and it ran all the way up to the end of the last year, so I just kind of hit burnout, and
Yeah.
with everything else that was going on in my life too, there was a lot of personal stuff that was really intense, so I just burnt out, and now I'm kind of like slowly replenishing that well, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So in terms of the work, I'm just focusing on the practice and the consistency of the practice right now.
Now, for you folks that don't know, Mairin-taj has a series of drawings based on mermaids, and it's all tying into what we're doing here. It's always, based off figurative work. You use like photo references, correct?
I use a combo of photo reference and imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and they're gorgeous. I mean, they're absolutely. You should, if you're out there, you should check them out. What I love about them is you're in this sort of unique space where you're not quite illustration, not quite fine art. There's this sort of middle ground that I enjoy personally.
I definitely walk that line.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they are very figurative. I'm a figurative artist, so working traditionally, so it's very figure in allegorical context. That's really what that's about.
Right. Which is where I think I bring that up because I think it's important to note that if you're new to figure drawing, you can be getting into it just for the joy of figure drawing, or you could be working it into your bigger plans for some illustration or painting project that ties into all of it. So, we can start with these little studies with a figure and then take them in and, use your imagination, change it into something else.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, you're currently working from life right now.
Right.
And we just mentioned that I sometimes use reference, like photo reference. That's another avenue. And then also I mentioned imagination or inventing convention.
Yes.
These are all, different, unique, valid ways of working with figure.
Right, and they all kind of work together. You can't get to the imagination part until you've sort of built up your visual library, so to speak.
Yes.
Right, from doing this figure drawing, or the photo stuff is great also. But unless you're tracing them, you have to have the practice of having drawn the figure to be able to make sense of what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Whoa. I'm gonna switch pages here real fast.
Like we would pose like the dying wall.
Oh man, just don't start dying to it.
I know he's twisting, but I can't.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Also
Yeah,
do it over.
he's got the like as if he had just one last attempt to try to pick himself up. I snuck that into an issue of Batman. Actually, I don't know if I ever told you.
You did, yeah. I love that. Didn't you do something else as well?
I would sneak it like in Wonder Woman. I was sneaking a lot of like ancient Greek like references with pottery and sculptures and yeah. I don't know that anybody cares in the comics world, but yeah, those all those art history classes weren't for nothing.
And you enjoyed it, so.
I did. I remember once during class we had the discussion of like the dying Gaul versus the Barberini faun as sort of like opposite ends of, if you're not familiar, you should Google these things. Although be warned, they're I don't know. Nude. I guess I should give a nude warning in case there's a person out there who's not comfortable with that. But the dying Gaul is literally like a sort of memorial for a literal dying Gaul, and it's not like prettied up. Although the pose is a little. It's you can't help but idealize it a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little romanticized.
Yeah, but he's got the clumpy hair and he's got the downward cast face and he's the guy's dying. Whereas the Barberini faun is sort of like, I don't know, like a Playgirl magazine sculpture. Like the dude is just super sexy and laying there kind of like,
It's very erotic.
yeah. probably mentioned that when we were in art history class, and the professor was going through slides, and she shows the Barberini fawn, and like, you know, all the women and half the dudes all gasped like audibly. Like, I thought that was great.
The power of art.
Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah. It hit him for sure. Which, you know, I used to be, I went to an art school with, briefly, I went to a couple different art schools, but I went to one that the state of Pennsylvania used to run called the Pennsylvania Governor's School for the Arts. And my roommate was a opera singer. And I remember going to one of his performances and, you know, looking around and seeing all these like girls crying and just thinking like, wow, what the hell? Like, what's happening? You know, and thinking like, I remember literally arguing that like ours was in some ways an inferior art form because, and I hate to use that word inferior, but I couldn't think of a better way to word it. Because, you know, performance art can so directly make you feel something. And I sort of thought of like art as just not having that same kind of, you know, oomph to it. And now, you know, people yelled at me, said I was wrong, and someone pointed out that like performances are here and gone, and that art is more permanent and can affect people, you know. So, I mean, there's an argument either way.
Yeah, sure.
But that was, I remember with that particular sculpture, like that had a sort of performance-like effect on the kids in that class, people in that class. Maybe because it was sculpture, I don't know. You think a painting would hit someone like that? I don't know, I guess they could, but.
Yeah, it's so subjective, you know, like it depends on the style, and if the style really hits someone or not.
Yeah. Maybe because I do it, I can't, again, I can't take it seriously, so I think like, all right, so what do you want to, maybe one more and then we'll call it a day?
Okay.
Do we have time? Do you know what time it is?
Yes, it is 2:30.
Yeah, we'll do one more and call it.
Okay. Do you want to do another 5, or do you want to do like a long one?
What do you want to do? You're the boss. Okay, let's do that.
Um,
Do you need a chair or anything?
I'm just wondering, I could lie down, or I could.
It's up to you. Whatever's comfortable for you. All right, that works. Okay, doke. I'm sorry?
I didn't set the timer.
Oh, set your timer.
What do you want to set it to?
Whatever's comfortable for you. So we were doing 5, I don't know. I'll let you call it.
You want to do 10?
Sure.
Hold on. I just realized that I did not update my parking ticket. Oh, 18 minutes up there.
I got a ticket for parking the last time we were here drawing, because I put instead of an E on my license plate, I put a 3, like a doofus. I can't, like, yeah, it was such a dumb, anyway, but.
That sucks.
I draw pictures. I'm not a numbers and letters guy. They look close enough. Doesn't that count for something?
Yeah, I don't know where I stand on the whole, you know, which is more power in terms of the arts, the visual and performative.
Right.
You know, it's hard to tell for me, particularly because I've been in both palms, you know.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we should mention you were a ballerina.
Dancer, and then also I have singing training, and then, you know, I make art and draw, you know, so it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think I tend to separate them because I was never a performer, so I don't think of it, you know. Although I guess now with podcasting, I might have to be. So yeah, I forgot all about that.
Sometimes I do too.
So when you were doing the separate, like let's say dancing versus drawing, does it feel different in your head? Like, I mean, obviously it'll feel different physically, but the sort of act of making a thing, creating a thing.
I think the experience of being in the moment, what some people call the flow.
Yeah.
Of either drawing, painting, or dancing. That the present moment flow experience of that internally, for me, I would say is the same.
Okay.
But, you know, the discipline around creating, choreographing a dance, you know, honing it, you know, fucking out, doing it again. The discipline of making the dance and then the discipline of, you know, doing the work in art is definitely feels different. It definitely it activates different parts of your body and your, you know, emotions maybe.
Yeah. I mean, you chose visual art, so I'm guessing that's maybe more fulfilling, or is that a bad assumption?
No, I chose that because I was having a difficult couple of teenage years and I had some serious injuries, and so I was like, you know, I don't want to go back. You know, I don't want to wait until I'm healed. And I don't know. It was a messy decision on my part. But I had been drawing since I was 3 and I've been dancing since I was roughly the same age. So
Wow.
sometimes I wonder, you know, if in a parallel universe I'm like a professional, famous dancer, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you're driven enough. I would assume whatever you went after, you would be doing that thing.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird to think.
It is.
I mean, it's kind of a cruel world, though, too. Like, having gotten to know a few ballet dancers, it's kind of unforgiving.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing it helped me decide because I didn't really want to be in that traumatic environment.
Yeah.
People, like drama with people, I hate drama, so
Yeah.
that wouldn't have worked for me. But, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
getting awards.
Wow. Yeah, I believe it. I mean,
Competitions.
jeez. So if not for the injuries, maybe we don't have you here at
Yeah, maybe,
art school?
Maybe not. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe I would have been a dancer until my mid-30s. You know, you physically can't really do it much anymore. And then maybe I would have started writing and illustrating my own books at that point.
Yeah. Isn't the this is a weird tangent, but isn't the do you ever see Disney's Aristocrat Cats?
Yes, a long time ago.
Yeah, I think the old French lady that has the cats, I think she was a ballet dancer or a singer. I forget what it is. So she just sort of retired, and I want to say she was a dancer.
Oh,
Yeah.
that happens a lot. Like dancers go into acting.
Yes.
Or,
Yes.
You know, actors and do dancing and stuff like that. And I get that. Like, I mean, what's that famous ballerina?
Uh-oh.
Missy Copeland. Misty Copeland.
Oh.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's a prima ballerina and she works in New York City, but she also has segued into acting and doing performances in films because there is a correlation, you know, as a dancer, you're living the emotion and you're performing that emotion, you know. So.
Now, is there a little bit of sort of snottiness, like you look down at television and film? Because I know, you know, at this art school, it was all like classical everything. So there was no illustration classes, nothing like that. and the musicians were not allowed to play show tunes.
Oh.
So is there anything like a dance equivalent for that, for film and TV? Or just, I don't know, commercial dance in any form, I guess? Like,
I don't know. I'm sure there is.
yeah, I bet.
That kind of thing seems to be everywhere in every discipline.
Yeah, for sure. I remember being in art school and a professor saying, I can't remember exactly how he worded it, but it was sort of the equivalent of like the difference between fine art and illustration is like genius or something. And I remember just like quietly, and I respected this guy, and I was just kind of quietly like, oops, okay. I'm not gonna tell you what I'm planning, so. And eventually we did talk about me wanting to do illustration work, and you know, it was definitely, like, he was cool about it, but there was definitely a sense of, well, you know, you'll do that to eat, and then, you know, when you're done playing around, you'll do the serious work.
Yeah, a lot of fine art, when I was going into school as an artist, there was a lot of attitude of fine artists thinking, you know, whether they were a fine art student or a fine art instructor or a fine artist professional, you know, there was this look, this perspective of, oh, you're in illustration, so you're a sellout. You know?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you're not in love with the work, you just want to, you know, do art to
Although that's changed quite a bit. I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah.
serious art programs that are illustration centric, and you know, now you have people with like a master's degree in illustration, you know, things like that. Yeah, I mean, it's I don't have any data, so I don't know how common it is, but you know, I don't know that when I was in art school, any of the schools I was at offered anything like that. I mean, even just illustration courses in general, I think there was just the one. Now, you know, there's a new professor here. I forget where she was from, and I probably shouldn't give her information, but I think she just got her master's from, I shouldn't mention the school, but yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's cool. It's being taken more seriously. I think people are starting to realize like illustration can actually be your art form.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think my battery's starting to die here. So we're probably timing this just right. Okay. That is it. Thank you for watching. And I'm going to try to wrap this up because I'm afraid my battery is going to completely die. Mairin-taj, thank you so much. You want to tell us, I'll probably put some links in the show description.
Yeah.
But do you want to tell us where we can find your work?
You can find links to all the things on my Instagram at studio_Mair, M-A-I-R.
Yes, and her name, Mairin-taj, is Mairin-taj. So if you want to Google and look for her online, last name Caya. I'm Mike Hawthorne, and it's been a pleasure drawing with you guys. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more. We're gonna maybe do one of these a month at first, and then up it from there and see what happens. So thank you very much. See if I can do this without screwing it up.